At the last Senate elections, 1 out of every 10 electors voted informally. Were you one of these? Throughout the ages, people have been choosing sides, choosing their leaders, electing their rulers, voting for something or someone. In the days of ancient Greece, they voted by a show of hands, as these children in a play center do today. At different times and in different places, people have used a wide variety of systems to elect their leaders. When the people of Nepal held their first democratic elections, a tent served as a polling booth. For the mainly illiterate population, symbols like birds and trees were used to denote the various candidates. These days, more sophisticated methods are used. Australia led the world with the secret ballot for parliamentary elections and has a modern voting system. At least once every 3 years, Australians vote at parliamentary elections. But did you know that 1 out of every 10 votes cast at the last Senate elections did not count? 1 out of every 10 electors voted incorrectly. Were you one of these? Before an election, all political parties put their claims before the electors. No party is barred, and everyone is free to speak for or against the government of the day, the other parties, and the other candidates. Election day dawns, and the polling officials prepare for the electors. Throughout the election, the rights of the voter and the secrecy of the ballot are carefully protected. In the presence of the duly appointed scrutineers, the presiding officer must display the empty ballot boxes and then lock them before polling commences. Each presiding officer is provided with a certified list of voters and a supply of Senate and House of Representatives ballot papers. All is ready, and the presiding officer awaits the hour of 8 o'clock. As the clock chimes, he opens the doors, and the first rush of early morning electors enter to cast their votes. All over the country, in the cities and in the outback, the Australian people exercise their right to choose their government. Many of our new settlers, who have become Australian citizens by naturalisation, are having their first vote. Although they are proud of their newly acquired rights, they sometimes need the assistance of an Australian-born member of their group to help them understand their voting obligations. Here, a group of original Australians from the Northern Territory are exercising their right to vote. In the big centres, provision is made for a large absentee vote. These votes are cast on polling day by electors who are not able to visit their usual place of voting, but who are still within the state for which they are enrolled. However, if an elector is away from his home state and has not made provision for a postal vote before he left on his journey, he may record a postal vote on polling day at the office of any divisional returning officer. Voting is compulsory at Commonwealth elections, the only direction in our democratic system which insists that we exercise our right to freely choose those who are to represent us in Parliament. When an elector goes to vote, he first has to identify himself to the presiding officer, giving his name in full and any other particulars which may help to identify him as the person on the roll.
Your name and address, sir?
Charles Green, 212 Ride Street, Silver.
Green Charles George, electrical fitter.
That's me.
Have you voted already either here or elsewhere at these elections, sir?
No.
Is your real place of living in the division of Silver?
Yes.
After the presiding officer has placed a mark against Mr. Green's name, he issues the ballot papers, first initialing them on the back as a safeguard against
You
fraud.
take those papers into the booth, sir, mark them, and fold them, and return them to the ballot box here, please.
On receiving his ballot papers, Mr. Green, in the privacy of the voting compartment, casts his vote according to his wish. At this election, Mr. Green is required to cast his vote for candidates for both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Even with only 3 candidates, there are 6 different ways to mark the paper. Mr. Green could cast his vote like this, or like this. He might mark his paper like this, or like this, or like this. He may even prefer to do it like this. But no matter the order of his preference, he must fill in each and every square with a number, consecutive numbers, commencing with the figure 1. Otherwise, his vote will be informal. If he makes a mistake and spoils either of his ballot papers, he can take the spoilt paper back to the presiding officer, who will issue a new one. On the Senate paper, the number of candidates is usually far more than the number to be elected. Also, the candidates for whom he wishes to vote may be printed anywhere on the paper, for the order of names, or groups of names, is decided by draw conducted by the Commonwealth Electoral Officer. Stop! You must use numbers. There must be a number in every square. A number may appear only once. Be careful not to leave a square blank. That's right. Right again. Good. Right again. Now check to see that every square is filled with a consecutive number. Good. Your vote will be formal, Mr. Green.
You desire assistance for your mother to vote.
If electors are unable to read or understand the ballot paper, or their eyesight is so impaired that they are unable to vote without assistance, they may seek the assistance of the presiding officer, who in the presence of a scrutineer will read out the names of the candidates for the disabled elector and mark the paper according to his or her wishes.
Madam, I have your ballot paper here for the purpose of recording your vote. The names of the candidates are Black, Andrew Jack; Blue, James Joseph; Brown, Kenneth. Will you please instruct me in the order of your vote, please?
Blue, number 1. Black, 2. Brown, 3.
That completes your ballot paper, madam. Are you quite satisfied, Mr. Scrutineer? Yes.
When the vote has been cast and the scrutineer is satisfied that the elector has voted according to her wishes, the presiding officer will then assist the elector to fold and deposit her ballot paper in the ballot box. The hour of 8 approaches, and the late voters hurry in, for the law provides that the doors must be closed at 8 o'clock. When the final vote is cast, the poll closes, and the assistant returning officer opens the boxes, and counting begins in the presence of polling officials and scrutineers appointed by candidates. On election night, the progressive results from each counting centre are telephoned or telegraphed to the tally room in the state capital. Representatives of radio, television, and the press watch the ever-changing figures on the board, sending out their reports and comments to a waiting Australia. Here in the Chief Electoral Officer's tally room in Canberra, we may see how all the votes recorded throughout Australia were allocated. We see, too, the informal Senate votes from each state, the votes that were wasted. The loss of your right to be counted amongst the formal voters is of great concern to you, the elector. Your 10% of wasted votes could well affect the result of the election.
As you can see from my tally board, over 5 million Senate votes were cast, but 1 in every 10 was informal. Just think of it. Of 5 million votes, over 500,000 were wasted. I know that most of these wasted votes were unintentional, but did you know you'd made a mistake? That your vote was wasted? Perhaps this is your vote, or this, or maybe this one is yours. Remember, your right to vote is a valued democratic privilege. Be proud of it. Don't waste it. And when you go to vote, make sure you indicate the order of your preference by placing number 1 in the square opposite the name of the candidate of your choice. And continue with the numbers 2, 3, 4, and so on until all the squares have been filled. When you have finished marking your ballot paper, see that every square has a number in it. Don't miss a number, don't miss a square. Make sure your vote is formal. Yes, yes. Chief Electoral Office, Canberra. Yes. Yes, no, wait. Take a seat, please. No, it'll probably be Wednesday next week.